Come on out, you guys. It's kind of chilly out here, but it's not that bad. The sun feels kind of warm. There's all 6 girls. Brandy has totally recovered from her nakedness and her crop issues and all the stuff that goes with Roma molting. I don't know what the heck's going on with that, but that's what happens. You're such a dancer, Bashers. Such a good dancer. There's Brandy right there. You're doing good, aren't you, Brandy, huh? Yes, you are. Such a good girl. I find it amazing that no broodies this year. This last year. In 2020, I had no broodies. That is a first. But that's okay. These guys are going, they're 4.5 years old. They were 4 in June, beginning of June. And they don't go broodies often as they get older. They also don't lay as often. So, we're going to go in there and look at Spike. This is for my, oops, I stepped on something. This is for my friend Heather. I'm going to go in here and we're going to look at Mr. Spike. My friend Heather's in love with Spike. So, hang on. Well, there's Mr. Spike hiding from Daddy because he gets down and Daddy beats him up. Aubrey, your comb was a little dark and you're panting. You really shouldn't be stressing yourself by trying to beat up your son. Hi, Spikers. Hello, Spikers. They have to have a heat lamp. These guys, these little guys, especially Spike, ailing in their ages. Spike is almost, he's going on 9. Aubrey's going on 10. And Amy's going on 10 too, aren't you, Amy? She's a spunky little girl for 10 years old. And she just laid an egg. And Mina's been a little bit under the weather. I don't know what the deal is with Mina. She's been laying around a lot. Mina is Amy's daughter. And Amy is Spike's grandmother. Hey, Spikers! He spends a lot of time up here, close to this heat lamp. Hey, Spikey! I put a feeder up there because Spike, he'll get up there and he won't be able to eat much. Because Aubrey is mean, aren't you, Aubrey? You little jerk. But anyway, Heather, there's your Spike. Spike doesn't like cameras either. Spike don't like the cameras. Hi, Spike! Hi, Spikers. He's threatening. You know, threatening. He doesn't like this. He still has that hypermetric, exaggerated movement thing. He still throws his head back to eat. He's obviously drinking. I haven't seen him drink, so I don't know what he does when he drinks. I haven't caught him drinking. I know he's drinking or he'd be dead by now. Yeah, you gonna stalk me back and forth? Yeah, his scales are starting to raise up in his old age. His scales are starting to raise up just like Aubrey's. Aubrey's feet are terrible, and it's not leg mites. It's just, I don't know. His legs have always been that way. All right, Spike. Say goodbye to your biggest fan, Heather. He's hanging in there, Heather. He's hanging in there. Little Spikers. Hey, guys. I don't know if I'm going to put the chicken clips before or after this segment, but I promised my friend Heather, Needy Homesteader, that I would do a little video with Spike. She likes Spike. Do you remember that old commercial about Michael Jordan? They were advertising Michael Jordan shoes, the Michael Jordan Air, I think Air Jordans. And it was like, I want to be like Mike, you know. And every time I see Spike, I think, I want to be like Spike. I don't want to be like Spike. But I keep thinking of that song, and I put Spike instead of Mike. I don't know, I'm just funny that way. I associate weird things together. But I wanted to mention something. I saw a really good video by Integrative Preparedness, Steve Smith. And it's something that people don't really want to think about, because it's not something you can just go on Amazon and buy. And he mentions that. But it was called Can You Handle the Truth? And it was about mental toughness in the face of oppression. This country has never seen oppression. You know, people want to go, oh, the civil rights movement. You know, yes, that was a form of oppression. I agree. But we don't have oppression in this country. And then I heard the thing about the house. They're going to change the pronouns. So instead of mother, father, sister, brother, which is basic English language, they're going to change it to parent, something sibling. It's like, you're gonna need an interpreter for this crap. If you think being called by a pronoun you don't like is oppression, you're gonna be squashed like a gnat. No, we don't know oppression in this country. We don't know anything about oppression. My family knew about oppression in Cuba. The woman my father married a few years after my mother died was from Venezuela. She knew about oppression. We don't know oppression in this country. It may be coming, and I think you need to be ready for it. But do you have the mental fortitude, the intestinal fortitude, the mental toughness to stand up to what's coming? You know, I think frankly, none of us know the depth of our toughness until it's really tested, and it has not been tested yet. You think it has, you're sorely mistaken. The absolute harsh reality of standing up to oppression, the result of standing up to oppression is quite often death. Bobby Fuller knew that. My father knew that. My family lost everything. Castro took everything from them that they worked their whole life to grow. My family was not Cuban. My grandmother was originally from the Northeast. But they were in Miami. They had dual citizenship. My father was born in Cuba. He was actually he did a tour as a United States Marine before Castro. And when Castro, they had a 10,000-acre agricultural operation. They had a sawmill. They ran cattle. They grew sugar cane. And when they harassed the family constantly, and when they finally seized the entire operation, they seized all the property. Bobby Fuller joined some guerrillas, not very well organized guerrillas, and the guy, I think the guy's name is Masferrer. I forgot I think that's the right name. He was considered a thug. He wasn't really the best person to join up with. They were captured. They were put through like a 5-minute mock trial. I don't know how long it lasted, but you know what I mean by a mock trial. It wasn't really a trial. It was just for show. My grandmother pleaded for his life because she knew Fidel personally. I guess he pretty much laughed at her. And she got to meet with her son before he was executed. And he said he was proud to die for this cause. He was 25 years old. Now, compare that with a 25-year-old in the United States of America now. There is no comparison. How many people are actually willing to die for freedom, to die for a righteous cause? How many people are really willing to die for that? You know, a lot of people they talk big. People talk a great game. My son's going to kill me for talking about this, but my older son, when he was really young, he, say middle school age, he had quite the mouth on him for getting in trouble. He would talk big. He would talk a good fight with the neighborhood kids. The neighborhood kids were rough. These were some rough people. They'd been in juvie and all kinds of stuff. And he would talk a good game, and he would inevitably get beaten up. He would never come out on the top of that because he would fight with his mouth. He'd talk a good game. At a certain point, we took him down to the local dojo where they taught a hard form of Japanese karate called Genwakai. The sensei took him under his wing. He threw himself into this, and it didn't hurt that he grew about 6 inches the year or so that he was in there, and however long we were there, I forget, before we had to do a transfer. This is at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And he got up to, he had been a brown belt for a while, and we had to get transferred, so he didn't quite make it to black belt, I don't think. But he was brown belt, almost black belt in Genwakai Karate. And then we were transferred to Utah, to Ogden, Utah, Hill Air Force Base for the second time we'd been there. We were there early on, and we got transferred back. And when he went to high school there, things were a lot different. He didn't get in a lot of fights. He didn't get in fights. Do you know why? Because there was an interchange in him. He had confidence. He exuded confidence and ability. And the way he walked and the way he talked was different. And just by the manner, the feeling around him when he walked through a group, people realized he was capable, and they didn't bother him. So he developed some mental toughness and some self-control. And he was a different boy then. He was a different young man at that point. He didn't fight with his mouth anymore. He realized when it was time to shut up and just give him the look. People backed off. He didn't have to get in fights anymore because everything about him had changed, and people saw that. So there are a lot of people who talk tough, is my point. And when it comes down to actually using their firearms, are they going to, or are they just going to be a hunk of metal that they stored up and pretended they were tough with? I don't think they even know, some of them. They think they're going to be tougher than they are. A lot of people, I remember a comment on one of the, it may have been this video that Steve made, a comment said something about, you know, people were talking tough about their guns and such, and he said, you know, most of you, he said, 99% of y'all will turn them in for a hot meal. You know, when things get hard and you're not eating and there's no food to be had, or what are you going to do? So the mental toughness is something you're going to have to develop. And, you know, I had mentioned a channel that I had been enjoying some of the videos of. It's called Simple Joys. I enjoy a lot of those videos. She has excellent suggestions about frugal living. There's one problem. On one of the videos, she began talking about how their government, now that she moved to France, the government is, she says, I am a socialist through and through. The government loves us. It takes care of us. And we're safe, and everybody takes care of us, and, you know, we don't have to worry about this and that. And I'm thinking, well, you know, that's really a bad attitude, because what happens when the government one day up and says, no more, we're done, you're on your own? What happens then? Dependence on government is the dumbest thing you can do. Now, she's a millennial. She's of a generation where that attitude is pretty rampant these days, sadly. But there's a trap in that, in being dependent on someone else, especially the government. So she hasn't developed any toughness, and she won't with that attitude. So, as with any channel, you take what you need and you leave what you don't. And I would say talking big is the way to get yourself killed. The ones who have the inner power and inner strength don't need to talk big. They know what they can do. Other people don't know what they can do, and that's part of their strength, that they're an unknown quantity. There we come back to that, be wise as serpents, but harmless as doves. Appear harmless as doves, really, is what it's trying to say. Harmless as doves. And as I always add, not adding to scripture, but adding to the saying, be wily as a fox. Don't go out there guns a-blazing and get yourself shot. Avoid conflict if you can, until you know it's time not to avoid it. And I think most people who have some good intelligence and capability of logical, rational thought will know when it's time to really bring out the guns. One fellow said he said, if you think it's time to bury your guns and hide them, he says, it's actually time to bring them out. That was a really good point he was making. But be strategic. And remember, you don't really know how tough you are until it's tested. I don't know. I've never been abused. My parents spanked me when I was a kid, but I've never been abused. I don't know what it's like to take a punch in the face. It's not going to be pleasant, but be wise, be strategic about the way you handle what's coming. And mouthing off only gets you in trouble. My son sure found that out when he was a kid. But you develop your skills, and you develop your confidence, and you get yourself in a position so that you know you can handle yourself when you have to. So, oppression, we don't know what oppression is yet. In Cuba, they know what oppression is. Venezuela, they know what oppression is. They know how socialism ends. It doesn't end with all the warm and fuzzies, because whatever the government giveth, the government can take away. And you don't know when that's going to be. And if you've been living on the government dime and you think that's a cushy way to live and it's always going to be that way, get ready for the rug to be yanked out from under you, because it always will be. So, that's enough rambling for today. And I hope you like the pasture cam. I was going to come out without a coat on, but it's a little chilly today, so I didn't think I was going to do that. At least it's sunny. So y'all take care, and we'll catch y'all later. And Heather, say hi to Spike. Bye, y'all.